All right, back live with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. The Special Investigating Unit will probe allegations of maladministration in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality after President Cyril Ramaphosa signed a proclamation. The unit will focus on alleged unlawful conduct which took place between 2020 right up until the signing of this proclamation. SIU spokesperson Kaizer Kganyago joins us now for more on that. But Kaizer, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. According to this schedule, you are looking at tender SCM-20-27-G-2020 to 2021. What is this tender about?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. This tender is about the provision of street and floodlights in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, Metropolitan Municipality. Therefore, they wanted to put up street lights in the area, and this process was started in 2020 by the municipality, and then the award was done in 2021.
And what was the price of this particular tender, the value of it?
The value of the tender is 70 million rand over a period of 3 years, which was basically from when the tender was awarded in 2021 up until this year, which would have made it 3 years, and they were supposed to then pay the 70 million over these 3 years.
So if I understand correctly, the reason why the schedule would go from 2020 right up until the time of the proclamation is because there's been continuous payments that are being made to this particular company that put up this tender, even in this particular administration.
No, definitely. We like I was saying to somebody that we don't work within administrations. We look at the duration of the tender. And in this particular instance, it meant that if the tender was going to be 2021 for 3 years, it must end this year. But then when the tender was started, we then got a whistleblower coming to us with documentation to prove that the process of the appointment of this bidders, the people who got the tender, was not done properly. And the documents that we had were very clear to say that there was collusion that was done. The companies that were involved in this thing, they were positioning themselves and working with each other to make sure that if I don't get the tender and it is the other company gets it, I will be the supplier. Therefore, it was just collusion that was done, and that is why we have to look into it to check what really happened and who was involved, especially the people that are in the municipality itself, whether they have any interest in that, because some of these companies did not declare that they know each other and they are colluding with each other.
Yeah, so there is the aspect of fairness, there is the aspect of competitiveness, whether it was followed, transparency, equitable, but maybe also the question of cost effectiveness. Is that something that you would still need to investigate on, whether or not there was value for money that was derived from this?
Definitely. We now go into, now that it has been signed, we are going to go back, look at all the documentations that the municipality have, interview everybody who was involved to understand. Because at the end of it all, if we find that things were not done properly and that is conclusive, we're now going to then cancel this contract and recover the money that we were supposed to have been spent in nefarious ways.
Yeah. How does that process work in an instance where, I mean, if you look at 2020, you had a DA mayor, 2021, 2022 ANC mayor, 2022, 2023 DA mayor. Now you've got Kaizer Kganyago who's been there up until this point. And you've got to have some of these councillors who are mayors occupying rather influential positions to come back and account. How are they held accountable when some of them are probably not even in council at this particular point?
You must understand that the contract, Thabo, was entered into between these companies and the municipality, regardless of who the mayor is or whoever. Therefore, if we find that certain people who are in the municipality and those that are not in the municipality have to come and account, we have got the powers as the SIU to subpoena them to come and give evidence. And then if anything points to them, they will have to account for it And if there is a need for any of them to pay back whatever money they might have gotten illegally, we will do so regardless of whether you are still in the municipality or not.
Yeah. And at this point, you're saying the whistleblower would have given you documentation. Would you then also need to yourselves go and get some of the more original documentation, I suppose, from the municipality, from the service providers, and so on and so forth?
Yes, when we started this process and we were motivating for this proclamation, we have already gone to the municipality. We have gathered information that we wanted to gather at this point, and it helped us in preparing the motivation that was going to the president. Therefore, we already know, because at the time, we were even saying, let us do a secondment, but an agreement was made that we then have to continue and make sure that we do a proclamation, because the proclamation gives us all the powers that we need so that we can take end-to-end the processes of recovery.
Yeah. So where you are sitting, as you're saying, you're quite well ahead with the process because you started a little bit earlier on. The officials and the employees who could have been involved in this particular process, are they still in the employ of the municipality?
Some of them are. We're not sure exactly as to whether, because some of the people might have left in between when the proclamation was still being processed, but the majority of them were still in the municipality.
Yeah. And at this point, are there any assets that would need to be seized from those who would have benefited from the contract, or is that something that would probably come at a later stage?
Yes, it's still early stages now. Once we find that the contract has been entered into unlawfully, or the process was not done in a fair manner, we then have to then take this contract to the special tribunal and make sure that it is cancelled. When once it is cancelled, we come back and say who did what and who did not do what, and who is supposed to pay back, and therefore we will then deal with that part at that point.
Let's look at another matter that you would be involved in. It's the matter of NSFAS. Now, we spoke to the student representative body yesterday after having having seen a statement, beg your pardon, from NSFAS saying that they have cancelled the contract with some 4 companies that were used as service providers to disperse allowances to students. So one of those 4 companies, Izaga, seems to have gone to the court and interdicted this particular process at the Western Cape High Court, which the court now has ordered NSFAS to allow the Izaga contract to continue in paying allowances. How does that affect your work? Firstly, let's find out from you what you have found out around these 4 companies.
Yeah, in as far as those companies at the NSFAS are concerned, we found that all of them, their contract were entered into unlawfully, and we really have conclusively dealt with that. And therefore, as a result of that, we then recommended to NSFAS to cancel those contracts. And now we have started a process from our side to have taken this matter now to the special tribunal so that those contracts can now be cancelled, because you must understand there is a legal way of making sure that these contracts are set aside so that they do not rear their ugly heads at a later stage. That process has been started, and then it is not going to be affected by what has happened. What has happened is Izaga has now taken the NSFAS to court, and I've read in their statement also that they are going to appeal that matter. And that is a matter between NSFAS and this company. But we will proceed with what we are supposed to do, because we have conclusively found that this contract were entered into in an unlawful manner.
Okay, so what's the legal implication of that? Because they've got now this, and there's going to be an appeal that NSFAS is going to bring, because NSFAS says the judgment of the Western Cape High Court did not take into consideration your findings as the SIU, for example, as one of the things that they're going to use as a point of appealing this. But what's the legal implication of this as far as the contract is concerned?
Yeah, obviously, we respect the court, and the court has clearly indicated that the interdict, because the Izaga applied for interdict, and then the interdict was granted. That is where we are. Therefore, we are going to follow the lead of NSFAS when they are going to appeal this matter, and then we will look at our legal options, whether we are going to be party to it or how we are going to deal with it. But as far as we are concerned, we have concluded, and it's clear that this contract were entered into unlawfully. We will proceed with our processes and finalize this matter at the special tribunal.
Talk about the process then of the special tribunal. Why are you taking it there? What are you hoping to get out of it at the special tribunal?
We want to set those contracts aside, because when we set the contract aside, they become unlawful, and therefore any transaction that might have happened will become unlawful too. And then if there is a need for us to recover, we will do so.
I appreciate your time. Let's leave it there for tonight. Thank you very much for coming on. That is Kaizer Kganyago there speaking on behalf of the SIU on those two important matters.